What's your glitch in the Matrix story? One day back when I was in 3rd grade, I took a break from my usual lunchtime activities, which mainly included either digging in the sand or getting up to inadvisable mischief, to watch a few of my friends attempt to play basketball. The sport didn't really interest me, but I'd had the idea that I could hang out on the sidelines and provide amusing commentary to the other people who were eating their lunch there. So I sat down at where I thought the best vantage point would be and just started running my mouth off. For the first several minutes, everything progressed about as one would expect. My friends managed to score a few points. I prompted a few laughs and a few shouts of "shut up," and the game continued with as much action and fervor as a group of 8-year-olds could manage. Then, as one of the kids lobbed a shot toward the basket, something very strange happened. The ball arced through the air, hit against the rim, and froze. Not only that, but everything froze. Each of the students, every piece of windblown trash, and even every sound just stopped. It was like being inside an eerily accurate gallery of statues. A second or two passed before I realized that I was rambling at a completely stationary world, and as soon as I did, the passage of time righted itself. The world resumed from precisely the same second when it had frozen, with everything and everyone continuing as though nothing had happened. Now, the logical conclusion is that I had a mild seizure or something, and that my brain just filled in gaps after I recovered. The thing is, though, I can remember talking during the moment of stillness, slowly realizing that something was wrong, then feeling my heart pound with the beginnings of panic. I wasn't trapped in that motionless world for very long, I'll grant you, and there's probably a perfectly reasonable explanation. But even so, part of me still feels like I experienced a glitch in reality. Apparently the planet needs more RAM. TLDR. The world ran out of memory for a few moments. Wow, just wow. Every time I'm walking in the park, I walk behind my tall friends. With that being said, I sometimes run through spider webs that were supposed to be broken by the people in front of me. I hate spiders, and a spider web in the mouth is such a horrible feeling. This happened to me too. It's always just a string or two though, not a full web. I out it down to the wind. Even a slight breeze could blow a string over someone and down in front if you logged into my online banking. One of those letter 4, 7, and 8 from your password kind of deals. Did some banking, accidentally let it time out, tried to log in again and it wouldn't let me, eventually realized I had been using the wrong password all along. The universe just conspired for it to have the same letters at the appropriate location. Went with 2 friends to a condo they used only on the weekends. Myself and one of my friends were wearing sunglasses and took them off when we entered the condo. Because it was not a primary residence, furnishing was sparse. Couch, coffee table, dining table, a loft bedroom with a bed, dresser, nightstands, and that was pretty much it. We put our weekend bags away and then got ready to leave for lunch, but my friend and I could not for the life of us find our sunglasses. The condo was tiny with only a handful of places to put something, yet both pairs were missing. We gave up and went out to lunch. When we returned, everyone took a nap. I woke up with a start and found my sunglasses resting on my chest. This was in the loft bedroom, which was not anywhere near where I would have placed my sunglasses upon entering the condo. My friends were both completely conked out and snoring away. Can't explain it. My other friend never did find her sunglasses. Okay, that's freaking weird. Back in 2004 I pre-ordered Doom 3, which came with a pewter figurine of the man Cubus. It was sitting on my desk one day when I reached out to grab something else and accidentally knocked the figurine off. I never heard it hit the ground and I never saw it again. Strange, because a lot of people here reporting similar happenings. Was on a train listening to music when I looked at what time it was. After listening to a 3-4 minute long song, I look at the time again and it's 10 minutes later. To this day, I still can't explain it and swear that I only listened to one song, not multiple. I have terrible memory. Every single person I've met agrees with me. There are times when I can remember a very specific thing but parts will be missing. Sound, body parts, etc. But every night I have insanely vivid dreams, wake up and hallucinate. I'm mega sensitive to people's feelings. before they tell me, then go about my day like nothing happened. I swear it's helped me with so many things. That second paragraph, that is LOL. Take this for example. Guest comes to where I work her friend. Guest looks so tired, hunched over, and I'm getting a very sad and unenthused vibe aura. Guest explains that they had been planning this trip since early on in the year, and a month ago to the day, her mother had died unexpectedly. She hasn't slept in a while, which I could tell. Her aches were palpable. I show her some stuff we have and let her know they'll help her relax and sleep better. Her friend thanks me and they schedule some appointments. I kept feeling like this lady and I needed to speak, but couldn't pinpoint it. Lady breaks down, out of nowhere, common for grieving. Anyways, they come back next day, and I had this feeling the entire night before where I just knew that I had to show this lady I understood her inability to cope, the frustration and sadness and loneliness. So I go to local grocery outlet and buy flowers. I was debating between roses and baby breath, and decide to get a bouquet of both with lilies too. I write down my favorite quote too: ever thine, ever mine, ever ours. It encapsulates what love is to me, and I thought this lady would appreciate it. Anyhow, lady comes out of treatment and lets me know she's headed back to her place early. I nod and hurry and give her the flowers and note before she could leave. She almost fell to the ground with emotion. Every single flower, down to the color, had been included in her mother's funeral wreath. And my middle name is Rose. Her mother's maiden name was Rose. My favorite flower is baby's breath. Her mother's fav flower was baby's breath. And the quote, it was also her mother's favorite. She thanks me endlessly and tells me, fate has the strangest way of working. Yeah, you ain't kidding, lady. Ever have it where you are talking or thinking about something, and all of a sudden you see in it real life or on TV? This happens way too much for me. Isn't there a term for this? I was like 10 at some sports camp thing, and the game was the coach guy hit a tennis ball way on the air and we had to catch it. I am not athletic like that. The sun WAA bright and frankly didn't want to be there. It was boring. But he hit the ball towards me, but I didn't look up because frick's sun. I did the ridiculous cartoon run in circles thing you see in baseball episodes. Then held my glove out, still not looking up. Ball landed in my glove. I only knew the vague direction. It was a 1 in a million catch, and all for that I got to not play the game until the next round. Just was once you catch one you get to sit down on the bench until next round or whatever. One day I'm hanging out with my brother and his wife. As we're chatting, we mention Gauntlet, Legends, and wife says what's that? Both my brother and I respond the exact same sentence with perfectly matched intonation and voice tone. We said, oh it's a. We glance at each other and then say a game. We collectively crap a brick at how we even matched the drawn out way of saying game. Even the glance was like we had rehearsed it. We can chalk it up brothers spending lots of time together. My sister and I end up doing this all the time. It freaks out the rest of our family. It's gotten to the point that if it starts to happen I'll make a word drawn out until my sister finishes talking. Last time I baked homemade bread I was watching Twin Peaks, and so when I decided to bake some again I absent-mindedly hummed the theme tune. Anyway, I woke up the next day with the tune stuck in my head still. Left work on my lunch break and heard the theme playing over the radio in the shop I popped into to get something to eat. I fancied a Toblerone, but I was in a crappy everything is £1 shop where their own brand Toblerone was called Twin Peaks. Told my girlfriend and she just could not care less. Also the chocolate was horrible. I was at a sleepover with a couple of my best girlfriends a couple years ago. It was about 1 AM and we were making brownies. All of a sudden I felt like I had just said goodbye to someone. Like someone had just been picked up by their mom late at night because they for some reason couldn't stay. I felt this intensely enough that I felt like I almost remembered what this person looked like. Did someone just leave? I feel like someone was just here but they left. But I can't imagine who it could have been. Literally everyone had just felt the same exact way at the same exact time. Not one person said they didn't know what I was talking about. We were not a group that shared creepy stories. We didn't watch scary movies together. No one there would have made it up, or even thought of making it up. Sometimes I think of other times I hung out with that group and I feel like someone is missing even then. It sort of makes me want to cry. TL. DR. The Matrix ate my best friend. About 2 years ago I was driving down I-5 heading south. I live in Washington. There was the usual moderate to light church traffic as it was about 8 AM on a Sunday morning. At the time I was driving an absolute beater that turns heads with the sounds it makes when starting, so I was driving 60 miles per hour in the right hand lane. I've always been into cars, so I was mildly interested when a black Lexus hatchback passed by me going about 10-15 miles per hour faster than I was. As someone who was into cars, I logged the vehicle in my head as having nice aftermarket rims, and studied it lustfully as it slowly got farther and farther out of view. About 30 seconds later another identical black Lexus hatchback with the same rims drove by at the same speed as the first one. This definitely caught my attention and was a mild WTF moment. As I watched the tail end of this seemingly identical vehicle overtake me, I noticed a bumper sticker next to the license plate that in clear white and black bold lettering said The Matrix. It made the hair on the back of my neck stand up and I told myself out loud, don't ever forget this. Not a super crazy experience but definitely a wild coincidence at least. Another one, from when I was really young. So our friends had a cabin out in the mountains where it snows a lot. And it was winter time at this point and there was this Sully from Monsters Inc. toy, and all it would say was, I am Sully, and someone kicked it and it stopped working when you press the button, and it would say I am Sully randomly. So it was 1 AM and it went off with no one touching it, so in the morning all the kids took it and tied it to a tree, maybe 200 yards from the cabin. The next day it was back in the cabin. We tied it again to the same tree and it was time to leave. The next year we came back and went to check on it and as we approached it, it said I am Sully. Looking back on it I feel like it appearing in the house was a prank maybe being pulled on us. I'm not sure, but the random talking was quite weird, and how it looked after all the snow and rain was grotesque, and the fact it still worked after that time, bizarre. It was the summer of 1996 and my mother had just picked me up from working at a local water park. We were talking a bit about how work was and the conversation died down. I reached over to turn on the car radio and said the world is a vampire. As I pressed the power button and the speakers crackled to life, the words I had just spoke came blaring through the car as the Smashing Pumpkins song started the exact moment I turned the radio on. I don't think I've ever seen my mom more freaked out. This one time I was just chilling in my bedroom and a coat hanger went flying out of my closet and across the room. Scared the crap out of me. It was a plastic hanger, so I'm pretty sure it had been stuffed there and compressed into a weird position and then hit a certain level of tension and sprung back into shape, thus propelling it off of whatever it was snagged on. But I was a kid at the time and couldn't figure it out. I was certain that it was a poltergeist for like a year. I swear I saw the tree above my car glitch and the leaf textures reload, like how in games the trees go to high res as you get closer. Are outside. I live in an old house and has weird outlets and switches. One outlet is very old fashioned with 5 places to plug in a cord, so I've noticed it since we moved in. I swear that outlet cover was brown, but it's been painted white. I asked my wife when she painted it cause it's not something she'd do normally, and she didn't do it. I don't know why I am so sure it was brown, but I can picture it in my head. Was walking down the sidewalk and joked with my friend imagining what would happen if a car just swerved into the sidewalk. A car swerved into the sidewalk and crashed. I'm aware this is going to sound more literally glitch in the Matrix than this topic is meant to be. This happened last week, so it's very fresh in my head. I can't quite explain it myself, and it's not something that's ever repeated itself or happened in my past. I was in an IT lab in my university, working on a presentation plan with a few people from my research group. A couple of tables across from our little workstation was another group analyzing a set of numerical data. Anyone who's used a Likert scale, for example, rate your feelings on a thing from 1 to 10, knows that entering the data into your statistic analysis program of choice is a chore, and usually consists of one member of the research team reading out a chain of utterly random numbers. We didn't even have line of sight to this group, but eventually, after about 5 minutes of hearing these random bark numbers, my research partner suggests saying other, unrelated numbers out loud to mess with them. Pretty standard childish joke. So I start. because why not? I match the timing of the person reading the results, and initially it's all normal. He says 2, I say 6, and so on. However, after about a minute of doing this, we both say 4 simultaneously. I'm spooked, so I pause for a moment. She continues, 2, 5, 3, both of us. Again, simultaneously. 4. I pause again, and wait. She continues. Every time I interject, every single time. 4. I'm looking at my research team in disbelief. They are looking at me much the same way. We're all deathly silent and all wearing expressions that say what the frick, dude. And for the next maybe 3 minutes, at a pace of around 2 numbers per second, every time I open my mouth to try, I nail the simultaneous 4. It only stopped because someone in my research group eventually told me to cut it out because it was freaking them out. I'm not sure if I could predict the numbers, or if it was freakish coincidence. I feel the need to state again, these were not patterned numbers. They were utterly randomized. I once dropped a coin into my drink accidentally, so I pour the drink out in my sink to get the coin out. Nothing. And I know it fell in there because it made a splash that landed on the table. I've got 2. When I was in my teens still living with my parents, my mom came home with groceries. I helped put things away. She told me to take 2 bags of cotton balls up to the bathroom. When I opened the drawer, one slipped out of my hand. These are fairly large bags. I looked everywhere and couldn't find it anywhere on the floor or in the drawer. Just gone. The second one was just a few weeks ago. A friend of mine wanted some glass pieces sandblasted with a design for his daughter who is graduating college. He gave them to me in a bubble envelope with paper towels between each piece. I distinctly remember them being a bluish color and slightly curved. I brought them to my job where I was going to do the sandblasting, and I opened the envelope and there is a single flat, uncolored glass plaque with beveled edges wrapped in a paper towel. I double checked my emails with him and he only ever mentioned one piece. I thought I had somehow traveled to an alternate reality. I was so confused. I park about a 2-minute walk from my dorm, and I saw a girl sitting in her car on her phone in that lot. I walked along the road between my dorm and the lot, and had no cars pass me from that direction the whole time. But when I got to my dorm, she was sitting in that same car, still on her phone, in the drop-off area. I would flip TF out, like running to my dorm panic. Sometimes I'll be watching a YouTube video and at a certain point I'll get some deja vu that I've watched that exact video before, but when I look at the upload date, the video was uploaded too recently for me to have seen it before. When I was a little human, I had a dog named Blue. Vivid memories of playing with this dog, him being near me and chasing me, playing fetch. He watched me poop in the sink in the basement with its dark greenish tiling. One day, the dog knocked Uncle Jack. Ankle bite. Drew blood. Dad said he would take care of it. Him and Jack and Blue went out for a drive. Blue and Jack didn't return. Now Uncle Jack was my dad's buddy friend. I have other memories of him, and him and my dad. I can describe Jack and his single chrome bred single leather strap choker. I can describe Blue and his white coat corgi size husky tail. Dog had blue eyes. Neither of these two exist. Try as I may to describe them in full memories. Either my family refuses knowledge and become Broadway method actors for this one shtick, or they weren't real. Been waiting to tell this story. Not a huge deal, but I cannot understand. I take the train from the suburbs to the city every day. Right in the middle of fall, I'm taking the train home in the afternoon. Average day up until then. Beautiful sunny day, most likely mid-50s. Not a cloud in the sky and the sun was just beginning to set. Most of the time I'm on my phone or looking out the window. It was a nicer day that week, so I was looking out the window. The train pulls up to a stop and I'll usually observe the passengers leaving or getting on. As the train was pulling away, I saw a man and his family getting into their car. His wife was already in the passenger seat and he seemed to be putting his child in the back seat. Perfectly normal. But this dude had a freaking umbrella. Fully open. Fully covering himself. He held it over him the whole time like it was pouring rain. After he put his kid inside, he even ran around the car like he was avoiding getting wet. To make it even more strange, he sat in backwards and closed the umbrella outside the car, as you would if it was raining and you were covering yourself from it. The sun was shining on them the whole time. I don't think he was avoiding the sun. It wasn't that strong that day. Who knows, man? Maybe he's allergic to the sun. I went to the same bank I usually go to in order to cash my paycheck. Have been going there for about 2 years now. Walked in the front door like I usually do and noticed there was double glass doors straight ahead. That was a second entrance exit. Never noticed there was another entrance in the entire 2 years I've been going to that bank. I even asked the bank teller if the doors were new and installed recently. She confirmed that they have been there for years. I was playing dodgeball in gym class. You were able to get everyone on your team back in by scoring on the other team's basket with a certain colored ball. I had that ball, scored, went up to catch my rebound, and came back with a different colored ball. I had a piggy bank in form of a chimney sweeper, and one night it suddenly had a little rope on his chest. I swear to this day it wasn't there before. I took a picture of my sister reading in an armchair and the wall behind her has wainscoting, etc. It was a disposable Kodak camera, and when the photos were developed there was no wainscoting, trim, or baseboard molding. It's not as major of a glitch as other people's experiences, but it was definitely weird. I used to be the manager of a small software development group. One of the women that worked for me came into work one morning and had this surprised look on her face. She said, "How long have you had a beard?" I blinked a couple of times and said, "For longer than I have been working here." She was absolutely sure that I had been clean shaven before that day. I was riding an elevator down from my office to go home for the day. I get on at the 15th floor. The elevator stops at the 12th floor, and standing in the elevator lobby of that floor are two college-aged people, one male and one female. They start to walk toward the elevator and then stop and say they'll wait for the next one. The doors close, and the elevator stops at the 9th floor so someone can out. It stops one more time at the 5th floor, and there, standing in the elevator area, is the same pair I say standing literally 15 seconds earlier on the 12th floor. I still try to convince myself it was some weird visual trick or that I was mistaken, but no. A pair of shoes went missing in my first apartment in the early 2000s. My ex had slept over and began getting ready to leave mid-morning, however his shoes weren't by the door in the shoe rack. We tore apart my one-bedroom apartment, which didn't take long considering its size. We checked the oven and inside the fridge and its compartments, the shower, in the toilet and even the cat's litter box. We opened the only door to the place to see if they were out on the porch. It had snowed during the night, so there was a fresh light blanket of snow. No sign of the door opening, which would have moved aside the snow underneath the door, and no footprints up or down the stairs to my second floor apartment in a house. We were absolutely stumped, resigned to the fact his shoes disappeared into thin air and that he would just have to leave without his shoes. Bearing in mind it is winter and there is snow on the ground. We turned around and went back to the next room, which was the living room. We sat down to regroup and lo and behold, there were his shoes on the floor right in front of us, between our feet and the coffee table, which had been pushed to the middle of the living room in the search. Literally noticed them at the same time and turned to look at each other, mouths open and dumbfounded. WTH. So one night I went to bed, woke up the next morning, everything was normal, went to work, went home, looked for a new job because I hated the one I had, regular stuff, went back to bed, next day, same stuff, repeat, eventually get a call about a job I applied to, have an interview in a couple days, nail the interview, get a much better job actually in the field I studied in school, couple more days go by, go out to some event or another, and meet a girl, we hit it off, I ask her out, she says yes, things are going good, more days go by, job is fine, but kind of boring. I think first date didn't go that well, but she wants to go out again. Second date goes much better. We continue dating. Eventually we decide to move in together. There are some fights and a lot of tension because we were not ready for living with each other. One night, about 6 months or so after that first night I mentioned, I go to bed. I say goodnight to her and fall asleep, and then I wake up alone, back in my old apartment. 6 months earlier, no new job, no girl, nothing, none of it happened, but I lived it. It wrecked me that day. I could barely function. I was so disoriented and confused and depressed. 6 months just gone. Never happened. So when I was really young, we went to Mount Rainier in Washington, and a ranger gave my sister a little pin. I don't remember it, but I remember the pin. She stuck it to this fabric wall thing where it stayed for 2 years, and I was now 5. And I was in my sister's room and she was talking to her friend about MT Rainier and the legend of Bigfoot. And all of a sudden this thing pops off the wall, like not just down, but down and out from the wall. Out of any time for that to happen, it was as we were talking about it. Regrettably, we smashed it with a hammer because we thought it was cursed. To this day I wish we still had it. It's one of those things I wonder about to this day. It scared my sister so much she cried when it happened and they both screamed and ran out of the room. Weird. One time back when I was in 2nd grade, I was sitting with a group of friends in our classroom doing normal elementary activities. I'm only 17. So back when I was in 2nd grade in 2008, the song Baby by Justin Bieber was hot crap. So when I was sitting there, I got the sudden urge to sing the intro while one of my friends also randomly started singing the intro at the exact same time. And when I say it was the exact same time, I mean it. He wasn't trying to copy me or mock me or anything. We were just sitting and both did that, which caused us to look at each other in complete shock. Pretty sure that kid and I are mentally connected. A few years ago I met a guy through a friend while I was visiting from the town I live 6 hours away at a pseudo music camping festival in San Marcos. My friend, him, and I end up taking mushrooms and spend most of the night sharing what we all thought were very profound thoughts about life and listening to music. This song comes on by this band I liked a lot in high school, and the guy said that he was also a big fan. We talked about our memories of them, and he said that covers some of their songs with his band when he's not doing this 80s cover band gig in Austin. That's when I had this huge wave of deja vu. I asked him if they performed at a bar on X Street and he said yay, and then it dawned on him and I that we had had this exact conversation about this band at that same bar in Austin after his show 4 years prior when I was in town. Wild. This happened when I was very young, maybe 6 years old, I can't remember. I went shopping with my parents and grandparents. We went to a toy shop and I was allowed to pick one toy to take home. I decided on a Polly Pocket set with various new clothes for the dolls. When we got back to my grandparents' house, I sat on the carpet and unpacked my new toy to play with it. While playing, I dropped one of the clothes and it fell out of my field of vision. I looked down and it was gone. Little me got very upset and my dad tries to help me find it. We checked everywhere, and I mean everywhere. We even looked under the carpet I was playing on. It was just gone. I'm now 19 and I still wonder where it went. My girlfriend and I were discussing glow-in-the-dark star stickers one night at like 4 in the morning. Never talked about them before. Nothing. A few days later, she receives a package. The label has my name on it, my phone number, and her address. Inside are glow-in-the-dark star stickers from some super obscure Vietnamese shipping company. I didn't order the stickers, and neither did she. They came about a day and a half after we discussed them. Still freaks me out to this day. At school in the 3rd grade, when there was an announcement over the loudspeaker that there was a bomb threat, everyone thought it was a drill, but we had to walk to the evacuation spot anyway. The teachers looked worried but were trying to hide it. Some kids snuck off in the confusion and no one noticed except me. I didn't think it was a big deal because I thought it was a drill. We waited at the evacuation spot for about half an hour, and then the teachers were whispering frantically to each other. One of the teachers had a megaphone and started asking where 2 of the boys were, the ones who had snuck off. Nobody knew and I was too embarrassed to say that I saw them but hadn't told anyone. The teachers were trying to keep everyone calm but their faces looked freaked out, and that's when we knew it wasn't a drill. 2 of the teachers went off to look for the boys. I don't know how much time passed, but we heard the bomb go off. Both girls and boys were crying. Everyone was super scared. There were tons of emergency vehicles at the park and no one found out until days afterward that the 2 boys had snuck back to the school. One had died and the other was seriously injured to the point of needing to go to intensive care. He later needed a leg amputation. 2 days later, I saw the dead boy walking with his parents in the grocery store. He wasn't injured in any way. It was either an elaborate fake death for witness protection or something, or the Matrix was buggy that year. My wife and I were visiting my parents. When we left, I can only recall getting in the car and noticing we were 10 kilometers away. When I asked her if she reminded driving all the way until there, she said yes. And when I told her I didn't, she said I'd been speaking with her all the time. Mandela effect is 100% real. I remember him dying. I remember very distinctly reading an article on him post-death in one of the many encyclopedic collections I had. C-3PO's leg changed colors around 1998. Mona Lisa was never smiling. Was walking one day. Saw this guy in a car. No problem. I saw the exact same guy in the same car about 20 feet away from when I first spotted him. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.